Hello, this is the Tennessee Government Section B lecture. Our prioritized standard is Government Civics 29. Objectively, we're going to compare and contrast the types of local governments. There are many things not directly controlled by the state government, yet operated by the local governments with oversight from the state government, like, for instance, the operation of public schools. So, local governments are responsible for operating and maintaining their own public schools, but the state government provides some oversight, making sure that the county or the local government are enforcing both federal and state education laws. County and local governments are required to run public school systems through an elected school board with an appointed school superintendent, or as we call in this county, a director. Schools are actually funded by local or county governments. In Roane County, that body would be the Roane County Commission. Now, some government services are not actually mandated by the state government and only provided through local governments, like, for instance, things like curbside garbage collection. That is a local government issue. It's not actually a county or state government issue. In some areas, people actually pay private companies for these services, and local governments don't actually provide these services, but some places provide things, other ones don't. It just depends on what your local government does. Now, the main source of Tennessee's state government revenue comes from sales tax, as the state collects 7 cents for every $1 of transactions in the state. Now, most local government revenue actually comes from property tax, and by property tax, that is an amount that is actually collected based on the value of the property that's owned by a citizen. So property tax actually is going to vary very greatly depending on the local government that you might be a part of. So this is actually the formula that you actually have to go through to determine what the property tax is. So if we look at this, we're going to notice that a house that's worth $150,000. One of those might be in Oliver Springs in the Roane County part, another one in Oliver Springs, Anderson County part, another one might be in Knoxville, which is in Knox County, if you don't know where Knoxville is. Oh, weird. So as we see, there's different property tax rates. You take the appraised value of your property, so that would be the $150,000. You're going to take the appraised value and multiply that by 25% if it's a residential area or a farm, or 40% if it was something commercial. So for this one, we used a residential area. You take your assessed value and you multiply that by the tax rate, and then that tells you how much you're going to owe. So as we see, it's $150,000, but based on the property tax rate, Oliver Springs is going to be cheaper than if Oliver Springs, Roane County is cheaper than if you lived in Oliver Springs, Anderson County, which is still cheaper than if you lived in Knoxville city limits. Now, additionally, local government revenue does come from sales tax, as local governments can levy an additional 2 to 2.75% on the state's 7% sales tax. I believe Roane County, ours is 9.25% is what our tax rate is. Different states have different tax rates. Tennessee generally is one of the highest, if not the highest one. This particular one from 2018 had us being the second highest tax rate with an average tax rate of 9.45%. And Louisiana actually had the highest rate. Now, while there is a separation between federal, state, and local governments, there are various examples of each form of government providing similar public goods or services for its citizens. Federal, state, and local governments all generally provide for the construction and maintenance of public roads, as a for instance, yet there's going to be different types of funding for those roads. Now, the federal government, this one funds national interstate highways. So this would be like I-40 that goes through Roane County. And they also pay for U.S. highways. So that would be like U.S. 27 that goes through Roane County. And they use federal tax dollars to pay for those roads. Generally speaking, these are usually the nicest roads because, well, they have the most federal money. The state government funds state highways. So that would be like Tennessee 62 and Tennessee 61 that both go through Oliver Springs, and they use state tax dollars to pay for those. Now, local governments, these fund local roads and streets that go through different types of neighborhoods. So, like Kingston Avenue that goes right by Oliver Springs High School, they're going to use local tax dollars to pay for those. Generally speaking, the federal roads are going to usually be the nicest, state roads are next, and then local roads usually are less nice than the other ones. Now, there are other examples of the government at all levels providing similar services, yet with different types of funding and focuses. For instance, law enforcement officers, you're going to have federal law enforcement officers like federal marshals, FBI agents, DEA agents, ATF agents. At the state level, you're going to have like state troopers, state police, TBI agents. At the local levels, you'll have things like police officers and sheriffs. Also, public parks, you're going to see national parks, state parks, and also local parks. So, again, you're going to see a lot of overlap in the types of goods or services provided by the government at those different levels. Now, there are primarily three types of local governments in Tennessee. You can have a county government, a municipal government, and you can also have what's called a metropolitan government. A county government is a form of government that is responsible for the administration of both state and county laws. We have 95 counties in Tennessee. 92 of those actually have a county government. Now, the county's governing body in a county government is a county legislative body that's usually known as a county commission, which is also going to have a county executive, which sometimes is referred to as a county mayor. That is, in fact, elected by the voters. Now, county governments are additionally required to elect a few other offices. They're required to elect sheriff, a trustee, which is like a county tax collector, a register, which deals with a lot of licenses in the state, county clerk, and also a property assessor. A municipal government, also known as a city or a town government, is a form of government that usually operate under a special charter after a city or town is incorporated or officially recognized by the state government. So there are actually 349 different municipal governments in Tennessee. Oliver Springs is one of those municipal governments. All those that have a municipal government are going to have a charter, and by a charter, that means a city's or a town's basic law or constitution. Now, municipal governments are required to have a legislative body. Usually they call that a city commission, and they also have to have a mayor. And many, but not all of them, but many of them actually have a city manager that is responsible for most of the daily operations of the government. So if they have a city manager, or if they don't have a city manager, is actually up to the city's charter or town's charter. So it really just depends if you have a city manager based on that charter. And the final one, a metropolitan government, sometimes referred to as a metro government, is a special local government where a county government and a municipal government will consolidate into a single government. So we only have three actual metropolitan governments. You have the Davidson, which is where Nashville is. You have Moore, and you also have Trousdale counties. So those three, they don't have a county government or a municipal government because they have just one government that covers over that entire area. All right, that concludes the Tennessee Government Section B lecture. Our prioritized standard was Government Civics 29. Objectively, now you can compare and contrast the types of local governments.